What's up, everyone? Shakes and myself today. The money man is in Mexico, living it up, I believe. So we're going to change things up a bit this week. We're going to just be chatting about three specific sides, three specific games. We're chatting Chelsea, chatting Liverpool, and we're chatting United. Instead of a good, bad, and ugly, because I think there's interesting stuff to be said of all these three teams. So I think let's start with the one that people probably be talking about most in terms of a positive sort of reporting, and I think that would be the Manchester derby. So what are your thoughts on it? Because we haven't spoken since the game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Firstly, hi, hey, what's up, Oliver? Good to see you, man, and greetings to Kevin all the way in Mexico. Hope he's safe, eating the nachos or the what they call those. But yeah, interesting game. With regards to Manchester City, Man United, I was really surprised because this shouldn't have been a shock in a sense, Oliver. The reason why I say that is because, funny enough, before this season, the last two times that Ole Gunnar Solskjær has actually gone to Ethiad Stadium, he's been able to come out with points and not just a draw and not a loss. So if there's any manager who just knows how to set up a side against Pep Guardiola, it has to be Ole Gunnar Solskjær. And also what I know is he's the only manager, I think, that has more wins than losses against Pep Guardiola as well. So that's very interesting. Very interesting, that's for sure. But how did you find the game?
Look, Manchester City got FIFA'd by United, and it was great. It was great to watch. I was looking at the stats post the game. I think United had City had 24 shots. United had 8. It's a third of their shots. City 67% possession. United 33% possession. It was sort of like plethora of stats that read like that just, read to a Manchester City dominance, but what the scoreboard read was 2-0, That is what matters at the end of the day. Characteristic Bruno Fernandes goal. You've got to know when you're playing United, if you're in the box, you stay away from anyone there because Bruno Fernandes will slot at, I think, 16 penalties, 14 of them in the left-hand side of the goal, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oliver, are you surprised that, maybe it's just my observation, right? But maybe you could tell me what you think. Manchester City, they go on like this incredible run, just winning games, scoring goals, and not conceding at all. And they hardly created clear-cut chances this weekend. Yeah. Does that surprise you, man? How much that, I guess United were good defensively, but City hardly created any clear-cut chances.
I think if you're a team like Man City and you go 1-0 down in the first 2 minutes, that jolts you, That's not us. City,
yes.
Previously to this game, had not trailed for 1 minute in their last 19 Premier League fixtures. That's like unheard of.
Yes.
So now you're trailing after 2 minutes against arguably the second best side in the league. And, I was sort of like very much, Manchester United aren't as good as they seem. They're on a lucky run. But you can only be on a lucky run for so long. And they have proven, sitting second to the log, that they are a very good side this season, and they let themselves down in the Champions League. But again, it may have been the best thing for their Premier League. And you go 1-0 down against United. United have been putting out similar lineups every weekend too, which is something that, they really have had the privilege to do. If you look at like a Liverpool, with injuries, a Chelsea with like not knowing what their selections are, a Spurs with Mourinho not trusting his players, evidently chopping and changing. As United have put out a pretty clear formation the last few games with Greenwood on the bench, Yell up front, Rashford coming in, Fernandes coming in, and I think you go 1-0 down against a team that's very structured, has a certain way of playing, is going to whack you on the counter, squeeze the ball out. And look, I'm not surprised by their lack of ability, because I think United were astute in what they did,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you in the sense of, I think also what United showed is that they're very good at the whole counter-attack sort of football. Like, they're one of the best within the Premier League. They're able to create chances. You just see even the way Luke Shaw's goal came along. I mean, it was a moment of brilliance, but just for them to break the way that they broke as well for the second goal. I was just really impressed with the way they defended as well. And another player who impressed me, Oliver, and maybe I can get your thoughts as well on this was the second game running that David De Gea didn't play, purely because of personal reasons, as they say. But Dean Henderson came in, and in the last game he did pretty well, and in this one he did superbly. Where does United go with the whole goalkeeping situation when De Gea comes back?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got 6 shots on target from City. He saved all of them. 6 shots on target from United, and they got a goal from one of them. So it's I think to fill the name of David De Gea is also it's a huge thing to come into. And he's doing brilliantly. I mean, United statistically, they haven't been conceding. Who did they play last week? I think it was Chelsea. Was a 0-0. Stagnant game, but 0-0 nonetheless. And at the end of the day, if you're in sheets, you're doing your job as a goalkeeper. So big ups to him, but probably learning from one of the best in terms of having done a bit of a tutelage under De Gea.
So for you, where does look? I think we can both agree that Manchester City is definitely going to win the Premier League, but with this blip that they had against United, do you believe they can still win the Champions League?
The Champions League. I mean, look, I sort of try to refrain from commenting on anything between Champions League and Premier League because they're entirely different tournaments, and you see teams do entirely differently. I mean, you got United getting knocked out of the Champions League, then ending up, consistently the second side in the Premier League. You've got Liverpool with harrowing results week in and week out that are doing okay in the Premier League. I mean, in the Champions League, Leipzig tomorrow need to overcome a 3-0 deficit. I think was it a 2-0 deficit? So they
2-0 deficit.
Yeah, so they need to win 3-0 tomorrow. Which is going to make for an interesting game again, because I don't doubt that Liverpool will concede. But I mean, 3 is a big margin.
And okay, so now City, okay, cool, different competition. Yeah. Now Manchester United, because here's my thing about United is they've been able to get good results against Pep Guardiola in the past. They've been able to come second, but I feel like next season, I mean, Ole has to really go for it next season. I think there's no excuses per se. What do you think?
No, I think Ole is I'm very happy for him because A, he just looks like a likable guy, but B, the fickle nature of a fan base and of football is that, cries for Ole out were, he's the first manager to get sacked. He will be, and how the fortunes have flipped for him. And it's great, I think, in the context of Manchester United post Alex Ferguson, to have a guy come in. He hasn't necessarily won the league, but he's come in and he's put in a solid innings in his first season. He's established some kind of cohesion between a team that, for me, my impression was full of egos, very unmanageable at the beginning of the season, individual talents that, didn't gel as a team. He's managed to find a formation and a structure among those players. I think he's set a really good base up to build off next year. So for me, saying next year will be the marker of where Ole's at, what he's done with United, because next year the talk should be about them in the title race, big time.
Yes, and no doubt. So I just think United. That's why. You're right. I think that's why I say United have to win next season. Have to sort of push for the title full force,
For sure. And do you think, just back to your question though, what do you think this means for City's Champions League standing? Do you think there is a side, outside of England that is similar to United in the way they're going to approach their games with City?
Look, I mean, that's the thing. If you look back at some of City's opponents that they faced and been knocked out in the Champions League, it wasn't sides who had expected. It wasn't a Bayern Munich. It wasn't a Real Madrid. It wasn't a Barcelona. If you look at the past few seasons that they've been eliminated, Lyon knocked them out the one year. Yeah. Monaco knocked them out the other year, and Tottenham knocked them out the other year as well. So there are teams. So there are teams that are capable of doing that. And when I look at some of the sides that are still left within the competition, of course, there will be second legs that are going to play out this week. So we'll have to see which are the teams to make it through. I think City will get past Mönchengladbach because they already have a 2-0 lead in that game. But I also do believe that there are some teams that can cause them problems. And I think that result against United as well, it's no disrespect to United, but they were at home and they didn't lay a glove on United. That's interesting to say for a team that was 14 points clear, was 22 points. 22 games won in a row. So it was a little bit disappointing to see that. And for me, I think it casts a little bit of doubt on, can they go on to win the Champions League? I don't know.
Credit to United for just making the Premier League title race just a tiny bit more interesting, and for making the Champions League title race like a lot more interesting, because now you're like, shit, they're 11 points clear. They would really have to cock it up in the last few weeks. But, United sit there, Chelsea sit there, stranger things have happened.